Okay, Harry Dent and Peter Schiff are both talking about a massive general crash before April, up to 90% across the board. The former, at least saying only US bonds are safe. Uh, what are your thoughts on this? Okay, so basically, a market crash in April or prior to April, up to 90%. Bill, what do you think?
Okay. So it's a really good question. These guys have made quite the splash as an analyst. They've come in when everyone's talking crypto, and then they're pulling out the everything's going to zero card. Now, just one note that hasn't worked in quite some time, and that assumes an event that the Federal Reserve and central banks cannot handle. So let's use our imagination. What would make capital markets fall apart that severely? Well, the first one would be possibly wonderful news that the pandemic was over, the vaccine worked, and there was absolutely no need to print money. And if anything, they needed to raise interest rates, right? Bond yields went screaming higher. And if you wanted to buy a house or a car, it was, 8% with perfect credit. Okay. That likely hurts the market. Now, of course, there's another scenario where, I don't talk much about because this is crypto YouTube and generally it's crazy to begin with, in that there's something really wrong with this virus. It's kind of like a Hollywood movie in that it's a possible disaster, right, for humanity. Now, that's interesting. That gets them to the top of the Twitter universe by calling for that. But as I say, it's really short show. It's like, wow, everyone's going to get the virus. It's the end of the world. Okay, time to wrap up the show. I think at the end of the day, it's the primary job of government to protect the people. And ironically, in crypto, governments are actually our friend, because if the markets go down 90%, they can't afford to have that happen. You'd have social disorder on a Mad Max type of scale. So, is it possible? Should you be prepared? Should you have a first aid kit, some bottled water, and some canned goods? Probably. Would I trade your portfolio based on that? No, I would not. I would trade it on the fact that crypto's the future and a lot of our quant grades are good. Okay. Now, with all that said, I'll wrap it up with this. Don't be so confident in your positions that you don't have protective stops. So if you got a bunch of Ethereum, you bought it at 400 and it went to 600, then make sure you have a protective stop in at, say, 350 or 400, right? In other words, you want to protect yourself in case there's some kind of event, because I can tell you right now, both of those analysts, particularly Dent, I believe is his last name, that guy's not stupid. Okay, so the analysis is based on something. So just protect yourself, right? And then implement your view until it doesn't work anymore. Okay, but obviously out there in the world, there's some very unusual, scary things happening. You need to take that into account and just respect the fact that those things are out there.
All right. Thank you, Bill. So tell us what you think. Do you think there'll be a market crash prior to April of up to 90%? If that happens, it's going to be a tough ride. But anything is possible. Obviously, we're bullish on crypto because in a way, we're kind of shorting fiat currencies and the dollar. But I think with equities, from my perspective, that can be propped up longer than anybody expects. Because that's what is happening right now with equities. pretty much the stock market is just being pumped up to oblivion, but people are losing purchasing power. And I think that's definitely a huge concern. So let us know what you think down in the comments below.